I just want to ask your opinion on what we saw in the first series of hours. Really, they didn't even get to 24-hour mark, and Trump has already initiated, fast-tracked a bunch of stuff. The first thing we noticed right away was this. He took us, the United States officially withdrew from the WHO. This is a huge deal. So we saw this. Here it is.
Withdrawing from
What is this one?
Withdrawing from the World Health Organization, sir.
Ooh, that's a big one. So we paid $500 million to World Health when I was here, and I terminated it. China, with 1.4 billion people, we have 350 to pay. We have, nobody knows what we have because so many people came in illegal, but let's say we have 325. They had 1.4 billion. They were paying 39 million, we were paying 500 million. It seemed a little unfair to me. So that wasn't the reason, but I dropped out. They offered me to come back for 39 million. In theory, it should be less than that, but you know. And when Biden came back, they came back for 500 million. He knew that you could have come back for 39 million. They wanted us back so badly, so we'll see what happens. I would do it, yeah, I would do it.
Talking about the European Union and the tariffs, like, what do you mean when you say that European Union country like make this part of BRICS?
That a what?
BRICS.
Oh, BRICS. No, I was talking about BRICS. BRICS are 6 nations. I think it's 7 nations.
Okay, so he fast tracked that. He made it a financial reason. We actually, this is an interesting thing about Trump, is that he uses the business mind of, is it a good deal for us? That's how he kind of justifies these actions. I don't know if he's saying the entire reason, but the point is, we've been officially withdrawn from the WHO. I think that's a big step forward as far as our what RFK Jr. has planned now that he's going to be hopefully confirmed as the head of the Health and Human Services. This happened immediately after. I want your take on that. And then this happened with what he calls the January 6th hostages being released, and he calls them hostages, what I think is kind of interesting, because the fact that we know that they weren't given proper due process during the judicial system for about 1,500, I believe. Let's see what happened there. This was last night.
In there, where we're doing further research. Nice to see you again. So this is a big one. Anything you want to explain about this? We hope they get them. We hope they come out tonight, frankly. They're expecting it. Approximately 1,500 people. Six commutations.
Were there any cases you did not commute or part of people?
We're looking at different things, but the commutations would be the ones that we'll take a look, and maybe it'll stay that way.
1,500. Wow. So he set that in motion last night. What we're hearing word on the ground right now is that there's a lot of these prisons that are trying to stop these releases from happening, but he did this immediately. Did you see this coming, Don, that he's doing these things immediately? And there's a few other examples as well. I mean, he just went right to it. Does this look like something that might be moving us incrementally in the right direction? That he's going right to work immediately from taking the swearing in.
One of the problems that we have with our system of government, that I used the word "R" very almost ironically, is that you have like a big man government rather than a different model. Let me give you an example. This is an extreme of the other. I was in Tripoli, Libya in 2008. Tripoli was the capital city of Libya that had a population at the time of about 2 million people, which is pretty much the same population as Manhattan, not New York City, but Manhattan. In an area fairly similar, although intensity of the scale of development didn't have any feel like that at all. So Libya at the time was governed by a system called the Jamahiriya, which was a creature of the leader of the revolution, 1969, Muammar Gaddafi, and others in the country that had worked on developing the government from 69 forward. It was a form of self-government that my friend Bob Fitrakis, who teaches political science out in Columbus, Ohio, said and is of the proper age to make this comment, would please any advocate of socialist self-government in the SDS back in the 60s. It was almost like something out of the New Left playbook. So I'm living in Tripoli, and there's a school across the street from my house. And these maniacs drive through my neighborhood every day, 70 miles an hour. There's no speed limit. And these kids risk their lives every day crossing the street. I grab a bunch of my friends and we go down to the municipal hall, the Congress Hall, People's Congress Hall down the block on Tuesday when they have the meeting where whoever shows up is the government. And I make a pitch to the people who showed up that, look, the school is across the street from my house, it's kids, cars, crazy. We need a stop sign on either end of that block, and we need a speed limit imposed of 10 miles an hour and very severe penalties for violation. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Wednesday morning, there's an order that goes out to the traffic division. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, when they get to it soon, the signs go up on either end of it. Speed limit, stop signs. Laws changed. Guy gets pulled over in there, he's looking at 30 days or whatever they imposed. Following Tuesday, some guy who was going to work Monday and is used to zooming through there shows up, is stuck in the thing. It said he's late for work, calls his friends. They go down to the town hall on Tuesday night and they say, what is this crap? We can't do this. This city has to operate. Keep your kids safe some other way. All in favor, aye. Aye. All in favor, nay. 3 people from last week showed up, nay. The ayes carry it. Wednesday morning, the guys from DPW are out there taking the signs down. That's a model of government that involves everyone, as opposed to a model of government that involves one person or one small group of representatives. The reason that I'm mentioning the obvious is that, let's say the top 10 policy issues in front of the people are war, the size of the military, resources for education, resources for housing, resources for medical care, resources for financial stability, resources for agriculture, resources for water and sanitary sewer, resources for telecommunications infrastructure, and resources for transportation infrastructure. 10 items, each one severe policy implications for the people in the country. Let's say one guy has exactly the same policy positions as the other guy, with the exception of, let's have World War III. You know, that's the limited choice involved here is itself corrupting. And I don't necessarily mean in a sense of financial crookedness, but corrupting in terms of the ability to govern for self-government. We don't elect a variety of members of Congress, depending on the position on this or that. These are allocated by land, by territory, by jurisdiction, not the legal jurisdiction, but by the political jurisdiction, subdivision. And so I got one guy going to Congress and 2 senators going to Congress that are going to be dealing with all of those issues. That is a fundamental problem in dealing with like a list of things that we have to deal with right now. So Trump comes out, of course, bull in the china closet, signing executive orders. That's his way. It's his charm in a way too. It's also his charm in the same way that snake charmers charm a snake. It's look at this. This is the shiny thing in the room, and it's what you'll be talking about as opposed to what I'm actually doing. There are some policies that were adopted, implemented. I would say implemented is more accurate with respect to telecommunications, for example, the censoring of social media being a big one, the further consolidation of the legacy media, I guess you call it. The further alienation of the public from the microphone and camera, despite the dispersion of cameras and platforms like YouTube that allow people access. The management of the different algorithms by which these things are found by viewers has become more and more closely held. And so you have 1,000 voices, but only one gets to the ears of the people.
Right.
That being the one chosen again. This policy, we saw a couple of reversals with the immediate one with TikTok. It seems hugely significant, and it is if it were allowed to stand. And I think the important thing here that shouldn't be overlooked, and maybe it probably is the essential thing, is that even if these things that we are seeing being done turn out to be in and of themselves insignificant, the fact that they had to be done in response to the people's pressure, the people's demands, people's actions, whatever, is very significant. That's the thing to study and to try to draw lessons on how to do that more and better. And so talk about build back better. That would be the thing to build back on. How do we identify the issues of real interest, not what catches their eye, but what goes to the heart of what people's needs are, and force the political economy to deliver it, to force the political establishment and or those in power to deliver it. The question in front of us at a rather urgent moment, and I think Trump is an interesting player. I'm looking at the Associated Press newswire. If you'll indulge me, if I can find my glasses, there's a list of things that he did in these executive orders that are being pushed back. With a huge number of resources being applied to that. Between with respect to the birthright citizenship, for example, I don't know if people are familiar with what that is. The 14th Amendment basically Americans born in America are legally Americans, that they're citizens. It doesn't necessarily mean everything it sounds like it means. And the law has been ambivalent over the years. And it's been expanded, the understanding of what that means, so that you now have, if two people are here without documentation, two people are here illegally, and they have a baby here, it's been treated legally by the government as if the baby's American because they were on the soil. Trump is rolling that back by executive order, and I saw first 18 and then 20-something states are bringing lawsuits immediately today, like within the first day of his administration. There's pushback on like a half a dozen of the other things that he's promised to do, including TikTok, by the way. You've got the Associated Press, not even the Washington Post or the New York Times or Rachel Maddow or Brzezinski and her husband, whatever that clown's name is. Not just those, but
Morning, Joe.
With a list of misspoken words yesterday, false statements made by Trump during the inauguration. That like the forces of opposition to whatever he plans to do are already assembled and filing papers. And so we're going to have that at the center of whatever he tries to do also.
There's going to be resistance the whole way. Anything he tries, they're going to resist. We already saw resistance to the J6 releases. I actually got this shot. Somebody filmed this at one of the prisons, that the actual jail guards and the prisons themselves are going to block the releases of some of these prisoners. Isn't that insane? Like immediately they're already saying no. Here, check this out.
So I'm outside of the DC Gulag, and there's now some Antifa here, and the cops are standing between us and some of these Antifa people. The guards are refusing to let the J6ers out. They have defied President Trump's pardon. The pardon says they're to be released immediately, and they've defied that. They know that the U.S. Marshal has been called, and I was told specifically by one Metropolitan Police officer, she doesn't care that the U.S. Marshals have been called. So we have a situation out here, and we could use some help, President Trump. Please send the U.S. Marshals immediately.
So, like you were saying about Morning Joe and his sidekick, the two of them, like they're going to anything Trump is signing right now in this like first 24, 48 hours, they're going to push back, tell their audience, whatever's left of their audience, they're going to tell them why what he's doing is either illegal or not accurate, and then they're going to be pushed back. So everything's going to get pushed back. None of these things are going to be easy, as we just saw there. Immediately, there's already pushback. That's what you're talking. Should we expect that with all of these things? Every single one of these, they're going to try and say, no, he can't do it. He can't do any of this. He's just because he's signing a thought, just because he's signing it doesn't mean it's real. That's it. Because it seems like Biden got to do anything he wanted, sign whatever, and there wasn't any pushback.
Biden's gone. And now what's going to be interesting is essentially as they sue Trump, particularly let's look at the pardons. As everybody in the universe sues the Justice Department, which has unlimited resources, so an ability to learn and project power, certainly. As they go from jurisdiction to jurisdiction and develop legal theories by which they can thwart these pardons, what they're doing is showing Trump's Justice Department how to thwart the pardons of Hunter Biden, the Biden family, all of the people that are listed in these various pardons of Biden's. If the power to pardon by the president is not absolute, and if these are the limitations of it, and the more rigidly they define them, you can cookie cutter apply them to each of the pardons issued by Biden. I think it's almost hilarious, except for the fact that you've got real people's lives here that are involved. In the case of people who've been over-sentenced, that Biden finally got around to pardoning, nice of him, given that a lot of them are in prison because of his activity as a legislator and as a demagogue. And also people like January 6th and others that are clearly political victims. And so each of the other points as well, where they're fighting back and forth, you've got the things that Biden did that Trump is going to undo. Biden did a lot of things as well by fiat, by executive order, administrative rule changes, and a whole lot of other crap that extrajudicial that everyone in Congress would vote for it, but they don't want to be on the record voting for it, so they're going to leave it alone if somebody else makes the thing happen. So
let's before I let you go, Don, there's one more I'm going to play. This was before the swearing in, and we got excited hearing this, but people are saying, no, he tried this the first 4 years and he didn't come through. But when we talk about declassifying things, right, it kind of gets me a little excited. Tell me, am I too over optimistic? But I want to play that. This is what he's saying right before he came in. What he plans to do with the JFK files, the RFK files, and Martin Luther King files. Check it out.
Step toward restoring transparency and accountability to government, we will also reverse the overclassification of government documents, and in the coming days, we are going to make public remaining records relating to the assassinations of President John F. Kennedy, his brother Robert Kennedy, as well as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and other topics of great public interest. It's all going to be released, Uncle Sam.
Don DeBar, what are the chances that any of these three files get released to the public in the next 4 years?
Well, I mean, the question is, more complex than that too. Let's say there's 3 boxes, in some dark closet in NSA or wherever the hell they keep this stuff, that include everything JFK, everything RFK, everything Martin Luther King. By the way, what about Malcolm X?
Right.
By the way, what about Fred Hampton? By the way, what about George Jackson and others? This country's littered with the bodies of political assassinations.
What about 9/11?
All of it, okay. But let's say these 3 boxes are on a shelf. The question is, what's left in the box? Is that missing piece of Jack Kennedy's brain, excuse the insensitivity, but is that in the box? Or has that been long buried? Is that, in a mist somewhere next to Patrice Lumumba? We don't know what evidence remains, certainly. And then, of course, how many hands have been on Bobby Kennedy's file since 1968? Just to make a little adjustment here, let it out here, let it in there, and take it a little more around the waist. So, assuming he is telling the truth for the sake of argument, and intends fully to release everything he's got, who knows how reflective what he's got is of the reality of the things that happen. And he doesn't know either, by the way. He may have a memo that supposedly details all that, but only a fool would say, well, then that must be it.
Well, like you said earlier, Don, we're just gonna have to take this day by day and look at it, as best we can with critical thinking skills, and not on team red or blue or any team at this point. Historical context is important, and seeing where, anticipating where things are going to go. But we can't take away the fact that people did arrive in DC. They had a moment. That moment belonged to them. You can't really take that moment away. But we can do the independent journalism that is needed, at which you do every day for us. You inspire the rest of us to do what we're doing, and keep chugging along, as we're going to have to do through these next 4 years. And hope, fingers crossed, we make some sort of incremental change forward, and we don't, Trump doesn't lead us to total nuclear annihilation. Hopefully, since we were so close with Biden, we want to at least step back. Just one step back would be nice. So that's where we're at now. So thanks, Don. Anything else you want to leave us with before I let you go?
Matt, I appreciate it, and I appreciate the work you do, the work that all the folks out here doing this stuff are doing, and keep on doing it. If I can help, let me know.
Thank you, Don. Appreciate it. Look forward to having you back in the future. Thanks. All right, bye. Don DeBar, everybody, checking in from Washington, D.C. Moment of change, hope and change, and all that good stuff we just experienced. Very familiar to 2009 with Obama, hope and change. So here we are. Who knows what's going to happen next, guys? But there was one more I'm going to share about Trump, because we did see another thing he did. This was kind of exciting for the COVID mandate situation. He did do this. Anybody who worked for the federal government of any sort that lost their job due to refusing the vaccine, he went ahead and did this.
I will reinstate any service members who were unjustly expelled from our military for objecting to the COVID vaccine mandate with full back pay.
Full back pay. Wait, who's not standing? I want to know who's not standing for this. If you're in that room right now and half the room stood up, half the room is sitting down. They don't think they should be reinstated. They don't think servicemen, I guess he said specifically service members should not be reinstated if they're not up to date on their vax. How is this not a no-brainer? And why would, I mean, nobody on Biden's team considered the history would look back on this and say, this is a no-brainer. You give people back their jobs. They're not a danger to society. This was not a pandemic of the unvaccinated, as Biden once famously said. This is a no-brainer. So if you're not standing, I don't know. I'm imagining being in that room right now and like deliberately staying in your chair while half the room stands. It says, yes, give them their jobs back.
And I will sign an order to stop our warriors from being subjected to radical political theories and social experiments while on duty. It's going to end immediately.
Well, I hope that extends to the working folks that aren't service members or working for the federal government. I hope we can extend that to anybody in this country that should not be used as an experiment and forced to do something against their will and against their consent, informed consent. Are you kidding me? Not to mention private records of your medical history should be also private. So there's a lot more to go on that part, but wow, it's just nice to see that happen right off the bat. Good start there in the medical freedom movement, getting step forward here. I hope we have more of those little mini celebrations that we're gonna have hopefully in the next sooner than later.